When people think of life in the 1940s to 60s in regards to culture and society, a negative light is displayed on inequality. This evidently being for a just reason, though the inequality from this time tends to focus on women in the workplace and segregation/violence transpired from race inequality in the South. Typical textbooks do not focus on the North or even give much attention to it. Even though violence and rioting was limited, the northern states were not free. Segregation in the North was still a problem, even if it was not lawful, and women, like in all other parts of the country, were not treated equally in the workplace. My grandmother, Irene Gunderson, was raised in Columbia Heights, being a stereotypical white city girl. She went to high school there, but did not continue her education. Was it the result of being a woman? Even though this was an influential factor, her choices were also related to personal beliefs. Being a woman in the 1940s to 60s did not dictate success. Even limited, women, as proved by my grandma, had opportunities for success, though discrimination was always present. Due to the fact that my grandma has Parkinson's disease and suffers from shortness of breath, she was not able to answer the questions I had about her jobs from this time period. My grandpa was able to step in and answer the questions from my grandma's point of view as best as he could.
What jobs did Grandma hold between the 1940s to about the 60s?
The only paying job was she worked at the Federal Reserve Bank downtown Minneapolis from the time she graduated high school until we got married.
How was her pay in comparison to men who held the same position?
Less, I'm sure.
Did men hold the same position as her?
Not exactly the same, because she was what they called a page at the bank. When somebody wanted a message delivered, these girls delivered them, and I don't think they had any boys doing the same thing.
Did she get to do the profession she really wanted to?
No.
What profession did she want to do?
Well, I guess had everything been equal, she probably would have gone back to the Federal Reserve Bank and got some sort of an accounting job, that sort of thing.
Even being subjected to gender roles reflected in staying home to raise her children and cooking/cleaning the house, my grandma enjoyed the life she was given. It was unfortunate that she and others were not given equal pay, still a struggle that persists in contemporary society, and did not get to do the profession she wanted to do because of a single factor, being a woman. My grandpa, Oscar Gunderson, aka Gordy, was born and raised in Chandler, Minnesota, on a farm, a member of a white family. He went to high school there and continued his education by going to Augustana University in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. There, he received his Bachelor of Science degree. As an adult, he worked in the Army, the Twin City Arsenal, and at State Farm as an insurance agent. In these jobs, he worked alongside individuals of various races, never once questioning it. Even during this doleful time period, my grandpa was never racist, though racism was not inexcusable just because of the time period. When questioned about the civil rights movement, my grandpa was able to show how the movement was perceived by a white northerner, where life for African Americans was better.
When did you first start hearing about the civil rights movement? What events were happening?
I suppose probably in the early 50s. And as far as what events were happening, there was rioting down south. That's about all I could remember about that. Here in the north, where the few colored people you knew were already free, so we didn't think about it much in Minnesota. At least I didn't.
Did your upbringing influence how you perceived the movement, or did you falter from your parents' values?
I guess I'd have to say neither one, because I grew up out in the country where there weren't any colored. I never saw a colored person until I was probably 18, 19.
In stereotypical textbooks and videos depicting the civil rights movement, the primary focus is put on the devastating and revolutionizing events of the South. Little attention is given to the North. As my grandpa exemplified, just because African Americans were not as discriminated, inequality was still prevalent, even though it may have been on a smaller and less violent scale. The 1940s to 60s culture and society, even the stereotypically privileged white family, was not equal nor perfect. Life in the 1940s to 60s was arduous and unequal, though, as history has proven, people and culture have changed for the better in most respects. Even with this change, inequality still exists. Unless people learn about history, the human race cannot progress forward without repeating appalling events from the past. My grandparents may just be two individuals, but their stories are paramount in order for change to happen. Now living in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, my grandparents are retired and living peacefully, surrounded by more equality in a diversified neighborhood.